The night before Halloween, my yard looked like something out of a Tim Burton fever dream. Fog machines puffing from the bushes, neon-lit skeletons crawling out of the lawn, and a 12-foot animatronic reaper swaying over the driveway, programmed to whisper, "You're next," every time someone passed. The kids in the neighborhood were obsessed with it. Even parents stopped to take selfies. But in the morning, everything gone, the fog machine, the spider webs, the reaper, all stripped from my property. The only thing left was an HOA violation notice duct-taped to my front door with an angry red underline under non-compliant displays. And at the bottom, in neat cursive letters, Karen Prescott, HOA Vice President. By the way, if you love real stories where petty power goes too far and karma comes dressed as a Halloween costume, you're going to want to stick around. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next neighborhood showdown. Karen was legendary in our subdivision. The type of person who measured grass height with a ruler and photographed recycling bins left out 10 minutes past pickup. She lived 2 houses down, always one step away from sainthood or litigation, depending on who you asked. I tried the civil route first. I found her that morning in her front garden, pruning roses like she was preparing for battle. "Karen," I said, trying to sound calm, "did you remove my Halloween setup?" She didn't even look up. She just muttered, "The covenant states all exterior decor must be seasonally appropriate and non-obtrusive. Skeletons and demons are not in the community spirit." "That's subjective," I replied, keeping my temper on a leash. "Not when I'm the one who writes the notices," she said. That night, I replayed our conversation with a kind of feverish disbelief. My decorations had cost me months of work, not to mention hundreds of dollars, and she junked them under the banner of community order. No way. I went to the HOA's online portal and downloaded the bylaws, all 147 pages of them, and started digging. And guess what? Nowhere did it say Halloween decorations were prohibited. There was one clause about hazardous installations, but my cords were grounded, my equipment was safe, and even the motion sensors were under power limits. She'd just made it up, so I appealed. Politely, formally, in writing, and what do I get 3 days later? A second notice, this time claiming structural damage to shared property, because, wait for it, one of my fake tombstones leaned into common grass. That's when it clicked. She wasn't enforcing rules. She was on a personal crusade. I started documenting everything, every notice, every conversation, every timestamp. I bought a small Wi-Fi camera and mounted it inside the mailbox with a perfect view of my yard and driveway. The next morning, boom, caught her. She was standing on my lawn again, clipboard in hand, snapping pictures of my porch lights before sunrise. That footage was good, but I wanted great, so I rigged a motion sensor that sent pings straight to my phone, alerting me the second someone stepped onto my property line. 2 days later, at 6:43 a.m., Karen tripped it, wearing gardening gloves, carrying scissors, standing over my brand new orange and black light strings. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. I catalogued every piece of evidence, backed up the footage, and started calling around. First a lawyer, then a property rights advocate friend of mine who loved nothing more than dismantling bad HOAs on principle. He told me to keep my cool, get everything in order, and wait until the next HOA meeting. In the meantime, I had one more move to make. A little psychological warfare in return. Halloween night came fast. Karen thought she'd won, but I had a surprise. A display that technically broke no rules, used no external setups, and operated entirely from inside my property. I called it the Nightmare Yard. When the neighborhood kids started trick-or-treating, my windows blinked with red strobe lights, and the fog machines blasted from just inside the garage, spilling over the threshold like a rolling storm. A projector filled the curtains with moving shadows, skeletons, demons, bats flapping their wings. From the street, it looked like my entire house had turned into a haunted asylum. Karen came storming out, phone in hand, filming for documentation, of course, just in time for me to step onto the porch with a clipboard of my own. But I wasn't just filming her, I was serving her. Literal. Legal notice, violation of property privacy laws, trespassing, and vandalism pending police inquiry. Her smile faltered for the first time, and that's when this Halloween feud transformed from petty neighbor drama into a full-blown HOA war. By the next morning, the entire neighborhood was whispering. Some loved the haunted house illusion. Others were clutching their pearls over satanic projections. Karen, naturally, belonged to the second group and had already emailed the HOA board 15 times before sunrise. Her subject line, disturbing imagery. Immediate suspension requested. My phone buzzed at 9 a.m. A number I didn't recognize. "Mr. Calhoun?" the voice said. "This is Deputy Morales, County Sheriff's Office. We received a property damage complaint from your homeowner association. Do you have a minute?" It had begun. When Morales arrived, the first thing he said was, "You're not the first to tell me about this HOA." Then he looked at my footage. The mailbox cam showing Karen cutting wires, the timestamps proving she trespassed twice, the photos of the removed decorations stored in her garage. He actually laughed. "You've got her clean. Document everything, but don't file yet. Let her keep digging her own grave." And that's when I realized, petty as she was, Karen was predictable. She couldn't resist control. So every time she plotted, she left digital fingerprints everywhere, emails, texts, board minutes. All I needed were copies. My friend Jason, a real estate lawyer who'd escaped his own HOA horror years earlier, volunteered to help. He drafted a letter quoting specific clauses from the Fair Housing Act and state property law, pointing out that Karen's repeated selective enforcement could be interpreted as harassment. If she continued, we'd escalate to the Attorney General's Civic Rights Division. But the fun part, we embedded a GPS tracker, a disguised little AirTag, inside one of the fake pumpkins she'd taken during her cleanup. 2 days later, the Apple notification appeared. My stolen pumpkin was sitting in the storage shed behind Karen's house. I nearly clapped. So late one evening, Jason and I conducted what he called a legal reconnaissance mission. No trespassing, just filming from the public sidewalk. The camera zoomed straight through the lattice fencing. There it was. My stuff. Fog machine, plastic gravestones, even the hanging ghost that moaned like a broken accordion. Perfect visual evidence for the upcoming HOA open meeting. Meanwhile, the rest of the neighborhood had started picking sides. Kids drew "Justice for Halloween" signs in chalk on the sidewalk. Parents quietly congratulated me for standing up to her. Karen didn't like that. The next violation notice that showed up wasn't about decorations. It was about noise, citing illegal sound emissions. She'd reported the laughter of trick-or-treaters as a disturbance. I wish I were kidding. So I called a local sound engineer, an old friend named Lacey who worked with event venues, and asked if she could measure decibel levels and certify compliance. She set up a professional recorder during our next weekend cookout. Result, perfectly within state residential limits. We now had noise data, footage, written harassment, and stolen property confirmed by GPS. Enough for any lawyer to feast on, Jason told me. This is the kind of overreach that implodes. Let's not just sue, let's expose. That's when we planned the sting. I sent Karen a cheerful email thanking her for her commitment to neighborhood aesthetics and asking if we could meet privately to resolve matters amicably. Predictably, she couldn't resist. Control demanded she accept. I showed up at the park bench outside the clubhouse with a discreet lapel mic, recording everything. She arrived 10 minutes late, clutching another stack of violation forms like trophies. Her plan became clear immediately. She wanted me to sign a voluntary compliance agreement, admitting I had disturbed the harmony of the community. If I refused, she'd motion for daily fines, $250 each. I smiled, let her talk, nodded, and then asked one question. Would those fines extend to theft of property? Her face froze. I reached into my backpack, pulled out a printed GPS report marking the location of my stolen decorations. She tried to grab the page. Mistake number 1, it ripped. Mistake number 2, she realized the whole thing was being recorded. That recording, by the way, would soon become public record, because I sent it to every HOA board member and attached it to my formal demand for a special grievance hearing. Word leaked fast. When the HOA meeting rolled around, neighbors lined the walls, half curious, half giddy. Karen took her usual seat at the front of the U-shaped table, posture like a general awaiting trial. Only this time, it was her name on the agenda under unresolved complaint, and according to procedure, she was legally bound to recuse herself when accused. The look she gave me as she stepped down, if glares could kill, I'd be a new Halloween prop. The room felt like a courtroom set from a primetime drama, rows of irritated homeowners, that faint hum of fluorescent lights, a board trying to pretend their kingdom wasn't about to crumble. I sat at the long oak table, with a calm that was more caffeine than zen. Karen took a back seat, arms crossed so tight her knuckles glowed white. The HOA president opened, voice quivering slightly. We'll hear from both parties. Mr. Calhoun, you've requested this meeting. State your case. I cued the slides. Footage rolled on the screen. Grainy but devastating. First, mailbox cam footage. Karen's early morning trespass. Then the time-stamped image of her cutting light cords. Then the GPS map glowing bright where my stolen decorations sat in her shed. Finally, the recorded audio. Karen threatening daily fines if I didn't comply with harmony. You could hear the audience gasp when her voice spilled through the speakers. Someone actually whispered, "She really said that?" When I finished, Jason, the lawyer friend, stood and summarized everything like a closing argument. He highlighted the bylaw inconsistencies, the harassment pattern, the code violations, and the improper confiscation of private property. He ended with something I'll never forget. This isn't about Halloween lights. It's about power, privacy, and property. If the HOA serves the community, then abuse of that power hurts the community. And everyone in this room deserves better. Applause erupted. Actual applause in an HOA meeting. The president looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. Then came Karen's turn. She stood trembling, voice sharp and defensive. He created an unsafe environment for children. He mocked this neighborhood's values. And those recordings, those are entrapment. Jason's eyebrow twitched. All captured from his own property, ma'am. The board members looked at each other, unsure whether to comfort her or call for a recess. That's when Morales, the sheriff's deputy, appeared at the door. Right on cue, he'd been waiting outside until his segment. "Pardon the interruption," he said, stepping in with professional calm. "Just here to deliver a notice of investigation." He handed an envelope straight to Karen. You could almost feel the oxygen leave the room. Inside were 2 charges, criminal mischief and trespass. No one clapped this time, but several people might have smiled a little too hard. Karen sat down in stunned silence. The president whispered with the treasurer for a minute, then announced that, effective immediately, Karen Prescott was suspended from her board duties pending outcome of investigation. And just like that, the HOA's iron fist lowered its clipboard. Afterward, neighbors poured out of the meeting hall like spectators after a sports upset. One guy patted my shoulder and said, "About time somebody stood up to her." Another joked, "Next year you decorating for the 4th of July or Judgment Day." By the next morning, the gossip spread faster than pumpkin spice memes. The video snippets hit a local community Facebook group, then the local paper. Headline, HOA leader faces investigation after Halloween dispute. Within days, the HOA's regional management company intervened. They suspended all violation notices issued by Karen, refunded fines collected under her authority, and scheduled a bylaw review with a proper attorney present. Irony played a perfect encore. Karen's own fence, installed 2 years prior, violated setback code by 14 inches. The board made her correct it before reapplying for membership. That's what poetic justice looks like in suburbia. As for me, I didn't sue. I didn't have to. The board reached a settlement, formal apology in writing, reimbursement for my destroyed decorations, and a promise to implement new oversight procedures. When Halloween rolled around the following year, there were more decorations than ever. Every yard lit with orange and purple lights, fog machines hissing from driveways, a block-wide celebration of freedom with candy raining like confetti. I unveiled a new centerpiece, a glowing 12-foot pumpkin reaper holding a scroll that read, "Compliance achieved." People loved it. Even the new HOA Vice President, someone far saner, laughed when she saw it. As for Karen, she moved away 3 months later. Rumor says she joined another neighborhood's HOA in the next county. Those poor souls have my sympathy, but not my advice. They can earn their own war stories. The lesson? Power in small doses brings out personality. Power without oversight brings out tyranny. And sometimes, to reclaim your peace, you have to fight pettiness with precision and a little theatrical flair. Every Halloween, when fog crawls across my lawn and the skeletons rattle their chains, I think of that first violation notice taped to my door. I framed it in my garage as a trophy, a reminder that sometimes justice really does wear a costume.